Hello, students, and welcome to the second essay, which is going to be a definition essay. This essay is going to provide some different challenges, one of which is going to be including research into the essay. So let's dive right in. We're going to look at the components of this essay. We're also going to look in later videos of how I would start this essay. We're going to look at components of research and how to do research using the library database. We're going to talk about the difference between the database and using research that we found on Google or one of those sources. So let's begin by looking at what definition is and why it's important. Let's look at this concept of fair. Fair is something that is an abstract term. We can't see it tangibly, or we don't have a solid definition that everyone agrees upon. For me, I would argue that the definition of fair is similar to unicorns and dragons in that fair only exists in the mind. Let's look at an example to maybe help you understand my definition of this concept. Let's start with a scenario or a premise. Let's say that you're driving down I-35 and you're going 72 miles an hour. The speed limit is 70 miles an hour. You are constantly being passed by Missouri drivers, which I'm sure many of you have experienced. You pass a highway patrol officer with radar, and you see him using the radar, but you are only going 72, so you maintain that speed, knowing full well there are many who are passing you along the way. The officer pulls over and gives you a ticket. Now, the question that I want to address is this fair? I would argue that this is not fair, but where does fair exist? Should that concept of fair get you out of the ticket? I would say no, because fair only exists in your mind. So it doesn't exist outside of your mind and has no bearing on whether or not you get a ticket. So again, fair is going to apply only in the mind, whereas justice applies outside into the world. So while we say it's unfair for us to be pulled over for a ticket because others are driving past us, going at a faster rate of speed, or that we're only going a couple miles over the speed limit, we look at justice as an application of the law. The law says that the speed is 70. We were going 72, and therefore we have broken the law. So that is justice. The fairness of it, again, only happens in our mind. And so that's going to shape my definition of what is fair and what is just. Now, in this case, I have only used a scenario or an imagined situation. To better support my argument, I would want to rely on something real world. I would want to focus on somebody who was actually pulled over in this situation or an example from my own life. However, in this second essay, we will only be using outside examples to support our argument. So let's look at some of the terms that we can be using. Possible abstract terms for this essay are going to be terms like community, family, hero, hope, strength, altruism, and charity. These are also abstract terms. For example, if we look at family, this can mean something different depending on who you ask. Some might say family are those who are related by blood. Others might say, no, I have a brother that I never speak to. I don't consider him family. Yet I have a friend who I've known since I was little, who has always been around us. Him I would call family. Some might even include pets as part of their family. We can see that this definition changes based on the person and their individual perspective. So what we're going to do for this essay is we're going to pick one of these terms, we're going to create a definition, and then support that definition with examples. Much like the example that I used to support my idea of fair, except we're going to find those real world examples. And that's going to be found through research. So in defining our examples, we might look at something like hero. Heroes might consist of firemen, doctors, teachers, of course, are heroes, and maybe pets or animals can be heroes as well. And we can see why this definition is so fluid. It's because some might consider a pet to be a hero if maybe it alerts paramedics or alerts citizens of a heart attack or a house that's on fire. Others might not consider that heroic. We might look at firemen. Some might consider firemen to be heroic. Others might say, well, they're really just doing their job and they're only heroic because they're being placed in heroic situations. So we want to look at examples that help support our definition. Now, will we be able to support it to where it becomes proven? Absolutely not. We're not aiming to prove a definition. All we're trying to do is say that our definition is valid, that we can provide evidence, we can provide support to show that we have a valid claim that carries a certain level of truth. So where do we find these examples or situations that we can use? We're going to find them through research through these real world situations. So if we're defining hero, we might look at heroes during hurricanes. If we're looking at family, the same thing. We could look at family during immigration situations or family during an earthquake. Could be a larger extent of family, such as outside neighbors. We could look at community through homelessness and ways that people have included the homeless into their community. What we're looking for are examples that will help support our individual definition.